Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a really fun theme team in the Great League, the Jurassic Park theme team. This team features Shadow Tyranitar as Tyrannosaurus Rex, Lapras as a Mosasaur, and Venusaur doing double duty as the prehistoric forest and representing the frog DNA that the scientists used to make the dinosaurs. This is definitely not a team I'd recommend for climbing ranks, but I was able to have some really fun games with it. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out the Jurassic Park theme team in action in the Great League. Hopping to the first match, leading Venusaur into Sableye. This is a pretty neutral lead overall, but I do have to be careful of a return as that would do absolutely massive damage. Sableye's farming up, so I'm going straight for the Frenzy Plant. Frenzy Plant gets the shield, and then I'm going to save switch into Lapras. Sableye farming up a ton of energy, and now they're going for a move. I live any one move here. They go for the foul play, and then bring in Azumarill. This is not a great matchup for Lapras, but the good thing is that I've baited out the Azumarill so that way Shadow Tyranitar is not going to have to face it in the endgame. Skull Bash does a nice chunk of damage, and I will of course get that guaranteed defense raise. That means that this play rough is not going to be enough to KO, and I can hopefully reach a second. Lapras able to get to the second Skull Bash. This is not going to be enough to KO, but it will get that Azumarill very low. Azumarill tanks, and it's a CMP tie. That is massive. This forces the opponent to waste their energy, and now I can very safely farm down with Venusaur. Venusaur is a bit behind on energy, but does have shields, and it's Skarmory in the back, and this is looking like a Shadow Tyranitar sweep. Shadow Tyranitar is pretty frail, so I am going to start shielding. Sableye able to get to another move. I am going to double shield. Even though they're only throwing resisted moves, I need to try and keep Tyranitar healthy. Back in comes Skarmory, and I'm going for the crunch. Hoping to try and get a debuff and a shield. We get the shield, and we get the debuff. Skarmory going for a Sky Attack, but this is not enough to take me out. They needed to go for a Brave Bird. Shadow Tyranitar, farming up, able to reach the Stone Edge. Stone Edge is easily going to be able to take down the Skarmory, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Venusaur into Walrein. This is definitely a tricky lead because Walrein is able to outpace Venusaur. I'm going to stay in to start, farming up energy. After 5, switch and catch an Icicle Spear onto Lapras. This is going to be double resisted and basically doing no damage. And the opponent is staying in, which is a pretty good sign for me because I definitely don't mind the Lapras versus Walrein matchup. I do have access to Skull Bash, which is going to hit for some big neutral damage. They go for the Earthquake, we tank it, and I'm going to fire off the Skull Bash. This will do massive damage onto the Walrein. Walrein does decide to respect it. They commit the shield, and then they bring in Trevenant. I'm going to keep farming up, and I force them to throw. That is massive. I didn't want them to farm down, and they end up throwing energy. Now I can bring in Venusaur, throw 4 Vine Whips, and go for the Frenzy Plant just before they reach the Shadow Ball. This will KO if they let it through, which they do. Back in comes Walrein, and it does have energy. But I do have a shield advantage here, so I'm going to be able to shield up, and then I'm going to go for the Frenzy Plant to try and force the final shield. Because if I can get a shield advantage, hopefully Shadow Tyranitar can close out the match for me. In comes Shadow Tyranitar, they farm up a bunch of energy, and in the back is Azumarill. This is not a great matchup for Shadow Tyranitar, but we do have shield advantage. Shadow Stone Edge, big damage onto the Azumarill, threatening the farm down and forcing them to throw. At this point, I can let this go. Tyranitar has done its job. Venusaur able to farm down the Azu, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Venusaur into Talonflame, a nightmare lead. I'm going to immediately save switch into Lapras. Talonflame is staying in, which is honestly perfect for me. I can desync the switch timers and hopefully grab a shield with the Surf. Surf does get the shield. Talonflame banks a ton of energy and brings in Trevenant. But with this big of an energy lead, maybe I can flip switch advantage. I'm going to be going for the Surf. Surf does connect and does a nice chunk of damage. And since I have shield advantage, I am absolutely going to shield and then fire off a Surf. Surf is going to KO from this range, and I desperately need switch advantage. Surf goes unshielded, and I get switch advantage. Talonflame is at 100 energy, and they're going to be firing off the Flame Charge. Flame Charge almost takes down the Lapras, which is a little unfortunate. I bring in Shadow Tyranitar, and this is enough for a Brave Bird. It would do massive damage if it is. It's the Brave Bird, and in the back they have Sableye, and I bring in Venusaur. Venusaur does have a pretty decent matchup here. Foul Play will not KO. I decide to call it. It is the Foul Play, and I'm able to tank it. From here, I just need to be able to reach 2 Frenzy Plants. Going for Frenzy Plant number 1, able to get the shield. Venusaur able to get to Frenzy Plant number 2, and this should be game over. That is taking down the Sableye. Talonflame farms down. Shadow Tyranitar laying the smackdown, and that is a good game. Hopping to the next match, sending Venusaur into another Froslass. Terrible lead. Like last time, I throw 1 Vine Whip and save switch into Lapras. My opponent responds with Sirfetch'd. Not a great matchup on paper, but here's where the bulk of Lapras is really nice, because Sirfetch'd is an incredibly glassy Pokemon, so if I'm able to land a Surf, which I am, I can make a play for switch advantage. They go for the Leaf Blade, shield up, and I'm able to farm down. It would be tough to bring in the Froslass here, I'm still very healthy, so they bring in their final Pokemon, which is Shadow Nidoqueen. Thankfully, I can get that shield back with the Surf, and then try and reach another, but my opponent decides to throw the Poison Fang. This is still a bit scary, because my Venusaur is going to get outpaced to the second Poison Fang. I do reach this one on CMP, but the second one they get to, I am going to get outpaced by 2 turns. Go for the Frenzy Plant, I get the shield, and it's CMP. I'm gonna let the first one through and hope that I can reach a Frenzy Plant. Poison Fang does get me low. Come on, Venusaur. Get there. They go for the snipe, and I bring in Shadow Tyranitar, and we may have a chance. I don't think I was going to be able to reach the Frenzy Plant, but now it looks like we have a chance. Shadow Tyranitar smacks all the way down and leaves with a crunch. Crunch easily going to be taking care of the Shadow Nidoqueen, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Venusaur into Galarian Stunfisk. This is a pretty neutral lead overall, and a lead I definitely do need to stay in, because my back Pokemon, especially Tyranitar, want nothing to do with this Stunfisk. I farm up, go for the Frenzy Plant just before they reach an Earthquake, and I'm able to land it. They're gonna farm up and throw just before I reach that second Frenzy Plant. I decide to no shield, just the Rock Slide, and I'm going to be able to fire back with the Frenzy Plant. This will take them out if they decide not to shield, so they will shield the Stunfisk. Now they can very safely overfarm and go for a move. I'm just gonna let this through. It ends up being another Rock Slide that does get me very low, and they get worried and throw their energy. Honestly, I'm just gonna let this go. That wastes their energy, and now I can get an energy lead with Lapras. Lapras not quite able to farm down, and I will commit the shield on the Rock Slide. We will get a pretty nice energy lead here, and they have Swampert in the back, so they must be incredibly weak to Lapras if this is their best response. I go for the Surf, and I'm able to land it. Lapras farming up and able to reach a second Surf before they reach the Earthquake. This will be getting that Swampert quite low. Swampert on very low HP is going to be firing off the nuke move. Tough call to make. I let it through. Just a Sludge Wave. And in the back, it is Talonflame, Shadow Tyranitar, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Venusaur into Empoleon. My backline does not want to see Empoleon whatsoever, so I'm more than happy to stay in here. I do outpace the Empoleon, so I'm going to stay in and fire off the Frenzy Plant. Frenzy Plant does get the shield. Empoleon, not the tankiest mon ever in the Great League. They overfarm and throw just before I reach another Frenzy Plant, but at this point, the fact that they're staying in, they're probably weak to Venusaur somewhere in the back. So I am going to be staying in here, firing off the Frenzy Plant, and they double shield. So they must be very weak in the back to Venusaur. So I'm going to double shield as well, and then I'm going to fire off Frenzy Plant number 3. I will overfarm ever so slightly so I have an energy lead for whatever's in the back. Frenzy Plant takes down the Empoleon, and they bring in Wigglytuff. So this must be Empoleon double charm. Venusaur, big damage with a Sludge Bomb, nearly taking out the Wigglytuff, and in the back, it is Charm Alolan Ninetales. And at this point, this game is already over. I'm just gonna spam out Surfs with the Lapras. The Ninetales doing its best, trying to output as much damage as possible. This Psyshock is gonna do a solid amount of damage, but not enough to take me out, so I'm going to be able to reach this next Surf. This Surf is going to get that Alolan Ninetales very low, and here, I go for a little bit of BM. I decide to stop attacking. I want to show them the Shadow Tyranitar. Shadow Tyranitar taking down the Charmers, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, picking up a great lead Venusaur into Jellicent, and even better, they are staying in. Jellicent farms up and then save switches into Registeel, and this is a big problem. Registeel beats my entire team, so this is going to be a team effort to try and take it out. Thankfully, Venusaur has a ton of energy, and I'm able to fire off the back-to-back Frenzy Plants. While they are resisted, still able to do a massive amount of damage, and Registeel's gonna fire back with the Zap Cannon. I'm gonna tank this, and then bring in Lapras and try and outpace the Registeel. I should barely be able to do it. Lapras able to reach the Surf. That is huge. I really need this to KO. Surf, barely not enough to KO, and they're able to reach a move. One does not KO from full health. They go for the Zap Cannon, and that does massive damage. I'm able to farm down, but this sets up Jellicent for a farm down. Even though they have Bubble, they can pretty safely resist a farm down because Lapras has no move that can hit Jellicent for anything other than resisted. So I am going to be firing off Surf after Surf, trying to do chip damage, but Jellicent just does not care. Jellicent able to absorb the back-to-back Surfs and is going to be able to farm down. A Shadow Ball would KO Venusaur here, so I'm actually going to bring in the Shadow Tyranitar. Shadow Tyranitar should be able to absorb the Shadow Ball. We tank that, no problem. I bring in Venusaur, and in the back is Talonflame. So giving up Switch, not the best idea ever, but hopefully Shadow Tyranitar can clutch here. Venusaur does get farmed down. They do have a move, but Shadow Tyranitar can very safely shield up and smack all the way down. And now, I just have to hope that Shadow Tyranitar can smack down the Jellicent as well. Jellicent, able to reach the Bubble Beam. I will commit the shield. Come on, Tyranitar. Farm down. They get to a move. This should be the Bubble Beam. Do we survive the Bubble Beam from Jellicent? We do not, and we lose a heartbreaking game. Hopping to the next match, switching Venusaur into Trevenant. Slightly negative lead, but Venusaur does have a lot of play here. So I'm going to stay in here and farm up a ton of energy. Trevenant throws as soon as they reach a potential Shadow Ball, and I'm going to respect it. Trevenant does go for the Shadow Ball, so a big shield. I'm going to farm up and go for the Frenzy Plant. It takes 2 to KO anyway, so I may as well go for the cheaper Frenzy Plant. They tank the move and then save switch into Walrein. With my energy lead, I'm able to outpace, and I should be able to grab their first shield with the Frenzy Plant, and then I can bring in my Lapras. And here I end up making a mistake. In this matchup, if you're going to shield a move, you typically want to shield the first move, because after I throw the Skull Bash, my defense is going to be raised, so future Earthquakes are going to be doing less damage than the first one. And as you're going to see, I do end up wanting to preserve my Lapras, so by not shielding the first one, it's a pretty big waste. I do end up shielding that second one, and that's a pretty big misplay there by me. I'm going to farm up quite a bit and throw the Surf just before they reach a move. This will be taking out the Walrein if they decide to let it through. They do commit the final shield, and in the back is Registeel. This is a big issue. We've seen Registeel before, and it did not go well for me. I'm going to stay in with Lapras, try and reach another Surf. Lapras barely able to outpace the Registeel. This second Surf will do a nice amount of chip damage, getting the Registeel below half health. Registeel is going to fire back with the Focus Blast here to take me out, and then I'm going to bring in Venusaur. Venusaur still does have some nice health to it, and I'm able to reach a Frenzy Plant. This is not enough to KO, but it is going to be getting them quite low. Going for the farm down, I can't get it, I go for the snipe, and I'm able to smack it down with Tyranitar. They have the very low health Walrein and the very low health Trevenant. Back in comes Trevenant, and they reach a Seed Bomb. This is super effective. Can T-Tar survive? We barely do. They bring in the Walrein and we smack it down. Trevenant able to farm down. Venusaur takes them out. And that is a good game. Hopping to the final match, picking up a great lead, Venusaur into Sirfetch'd. My opponent immediately save switches into a Talonflame, and this is about to be a very sad Talonflame as it gets absolutely deleted by Shadow Tyranitar. Opponent waits out the switch clock, brings back in Sirfetch'd. These counters tearing through Tyranitar. Tyranitar is able to reach a last second crunch. Sirfetch'd lets it go, but even resisted damage, it does a ton. Sirfetch'd throws, but this is not enough for a Brave Bird. I do not have to respect this. They go for the Night Slash, and then I can overfarm by 4, and then go for the Frenzy Plant. This, of course, is easily going to be enough to take them out if they decide to let it through. They do. Pidgeot in the back. In comes Lapras, and that is a good game. All in all, I had an absolute blast running the Jurassic Park theme team. Running Pokemon like Shadow Tyranitar is definitely tough in the current Great League meta, but in the right alignment, it can be an absolute blast. And let me know down in the comments if you have a suggestion of a theme team you want me to try out in the future, and who knows, your suggestion may even end up being used for a future video. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you, as always, to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.